Hello and welcome to this overview of Roland Pro AV's VR1 HD AV streaming mixer. This is a 3-input model that is absolutely packed with features. We're going to start by covering some of those key features right here. So this is an all-in-one hardware solution combining video switching, audio mixing, video effects, automation tools, and USB streaming. All this makes the VR1 HD one big webcam at the center of your live production. You can create engaging live streams. You can mix XLR mics with EQ and compression, add overlays with picture-in-picture and chroma key effects, and play music and sounds with the audio effects buttons. And hands-free switching and mixing. So there's auto mixing, audio follows video, and video follows audio. These are the three forms of automation to aid single operator workflows with powerful automation. When we talk about single operator workflows, we mean that a single individual can do the video switching, the audio mixing, and the effect overlays and combine it all for the streaming output. And those automation tools with the audio automation as well as using microphones to control the switcher for you with video follows audio. We're going to get into all that over the course of this overview. And so we're going to start with the top panel here. And I'm going to show you these are the two outputs as well. So I'm going to bring up the back and side panel as well, and I'll be referring to that as we go over the control panel here. So this is a program out. This is the main HDMI output. And then this is the monitor HDMI output where you'll see the menu overlay. It's also the free RCS control software, which I'll show you as well. So that's another way to access and change the menu settings. So you have three video inputs. These are multi-format video inputs. So whatever resolution you bring in, it'll automatically resize it to match the output video format. And in addition to that, the scaler can further resize and reposition that video input. So if you have, say, a computer source and you want to zoom in a little bit, you can easily do that in the video input menu. Also, input number 3 has a loop out, which is good for game consoles. So there's no latency on that loop out. So if you need to get it to a gaming monitor, you can put the game console or PC through input 3 and then loop out. Then those are the two outputs that I mentioned. So this is main and this is monitor. And then that USB 3.0 streaming port. So that's USB 3.0 type B. And you just get a cable that goes from that connector to type A or USB-C. And if you have any questions about that, just contact us in Roland support and we can give you some more details about the cable. Additionally, on the top, there is XLR TRS combo input 1. This is conveniently placed, so if you have a gooseneck microphone, you can connect it there. And then here's the fader levels for mic 1 and mic 2. So mic 2 is on the left side of the VR1 HD, along with the phantom power switch for both mic 1 and 2, and then our unbalanced RCA line in and line out, and headphones. Headphone knob is right here. And to set up an audio mix, you would just set the main fader knob here to 2 o'clock on the dot, that's 0 dB. And then this mix is fed to the main, followed by the USB stream. So you would turn that up to 2 o'clock as well. Video inputs, really straightforward to switch on this model. You just select the input and it'll switch to it. On input 3, I have some graphics right now, so I'm going to show you how to load those up. But I'm going to change out the input source a little bit later when I demo video follows audio. Up here you have scenes. So with scenes, you can fully customize these in the scene edit menu. So these are a combination of picture-in-picture and split screens. So for example, there's a picture-in-picture that I have there. And it's possible the graphics might be a source here. Let's see. Nope. And then my two cameras on a split. This auto switching button we'll get into a bit. That's for what I'm going to use to turn on and off video follows audio. So the menu button's right here. If you press the level setup button, this is a special menu that gives you key audio settings. We'll be coming back to that in a bit. Another trick is if you want to get into a particular menu, press and hold the menu button So if I want to edit scene A, for example, there's the scene A menu. Took me all the way, instead of doing scene edit and then going into scene A. Same for, say, like the key effect. So I can get into the key menu that way. Or even an audio input, I can do this and just move the fader, and then it takes me straight to menu, audio input, mic 1. So for the sound effects, you can load .wav files, import via USB, and here you can see you can also fade out the music by pressing it again, or do one-shot sound effects. So you can customize all that in the audio effects menu, and we have a full tutorial on their YouTube page that goes into that in more detail. Right now I'm going to quickly set up the key effect. So I'm going to do that shortcut there, and I'm going to change the source to HDMI 3, and then I'm going to do a green chroma key. So now when I turn on the key effect, there's my logo. So I can cut in and out a logo. And you can also have the keyer be part of scene transitions. So if you edit a scene, you can have the keyer turn on or off as a result of pressing that scene button. So that can be helpful if you want to do more kind of complex recalls or bring in the graphic for some of your scenes. So next we're going to kind of go over some of the audio features and audio setup. So I'm going to take this key effect off. And for setting up two microphones, you can go into the individual audio input menus or do the shortcut like I have here. The head amp gain is the preamp gain level for the microphone that you're connecting. So that default might be good for a condenser mic. You might need to boost it a bit if you're connecting a dynamic microphone. This is also quick access is on page 2 of this level setup menu. Another helpful page on this level setup menu, page 4, say these HDMI sources that you have connected, if you don't want that audio to get into the mix, you can just turn on mutes for them right here. So I'm going to set up two microphones and also show you video follows audio, one of the automation tools that is built right into the VR1 HD. So I'm going to connect mic 1 here, and then connect to mic 2. I'm going to do a little bit of setup before we get started. So the first is we're going to set on page 2 here, the preamp levels for both. So I'm going to just boost these a bit here. Next, I want to go into the auto switching menu. So I'm going to go menu and then auto switching. The default is beat sync, so you can have it switch between inputs and scenes at intervals to a sync source, whether it's a music file on playback or audio coming in via USB line audio or an HDMI or mic source. But I'm going to show you video follows audio. So the way I have this set up is let's pretend this is a podcast interview. This is the wide shot of the studio, and here is one of the guests, and then here's another guest. So the microphones control the switching with video follows audio. So I want mic 1 to control camera 2, mic 2 to control camera 3, and if they're both going over the threshold or they're both silent, it'll go back to 1 or the wide. I have a 2-second release time on this, and you can increase the sensitivity if it's not triggering. So here we're going to bring the faders up. Remember, I have the head amp gain set. I'm going to bring the faders up. Let me actually get these mics in my hands first. So I have my two microphones, and I'm going to bring the faders up. And so now, with everything configured, all I need to do is press this auto switching button to enable the effect. So here we go. So as you saw there, I was able to use two microphones to control the switching. And you can enable and disable that at any time with the auto switch button. So you have some flexibility with whether you want to automate your production or you want to manually switch. And you can also not just inputs, the microphone can also trigger a scene change as well. So additionally, you can bring in line sources with the unbalanced RCA line in. There's also, using these audio inputs, you can just turn the head amp gain all the way down. You have pan controls, you have EQ and compression for the mic channels, and you have EQ for the line and embedded HDMI channels. So you have a lot of flexibility with the audio setup. Those are all in this menu. So there's, you can turn the EQ on and you have all these settings here on one page. But I'm going to show you with the RCS software that it can be laid out more visually. And one last thing too, while we're here, is the still images. So you can import still images using a USB stick. So just take a flash drive and load a bitmap file to there. And all the specifications are in the documentation. So in the reference manual, it'll tell you the WAV file and bitmap file specifications. And then you can import them in the USB memory menu. And so you just do that. You load a still image off the USB drive. And then you can also have the key source be a still image. So you can free up input number 3 if you're going to key the same graphics over and over again. Also want to show you too, and before we jump into the RCS software, this is I'm going to get a little creative here. So here I have an overlay graphic that, let me just reset the keyer here. So go back to input number 3. So here I have a graphic that, say you have an event. I'm going to show you one of the newer features in firmware 1.20 was picture by picture. So I'm going to have to edit the scene here. And I'm going to change it from a split to a P by P. And so with that, what I can do is when I turn on this overlay and I load scene E, I could have a presenter and presentation side by side with a 16:9 aspect ratio, so nothing is cropped out. Or if I was doing an interview, I could have the host and the guest side by side. And if you had this assigned to a still slot, that would free up input number 3. So you could have multiple versions of the P by P. So maybe you want to go between the two guests or, the host and the presentation. So you have some flexibility by converting, multiple scenes to this P by P type. So again, just to get the chroma key and the P by P, just make sure that you have the 1.20 firmware update. And so next I'm going to take it over to the RCS software. And so just one moment here. So this is the RCS software, and I'm going to just get my mouse here and move this over just a little bit. Let me zoom out a little as well, because I'm going to bring in this view. So we'll go back to input number 1. And you see too, you have synchronized control. So I could do everything through the RCS as well. And this is a free download on the product page for Windows and Mac computers. So this is full control over the switcher and access to all of the menu settings, plus this audio mixer. So you can see here, we made those mutes earlier. They showed up right there. These solo, mute, and faders, you could do learn MIDI control, and you can map it to a USB MIDI controller. So if you wanted faders, because remember too, is you don't have faders for the HDMI inputs. You just have them for mic 1 and 2 in line. So you just have those analog ones. But if you have that USB MIDI controller connected to the RCS computer, you have a little more flexibility because you can then have physical control of the HDMI channels as well. What's really cool about this RCS software, when you hit the setup button, you have an EQ that you can click and drag. Same with the compressor settings. You can load a preset. So here you have a starting point for your EQ and dynamics, and you have two compressor types and a limiter. And these are for the mic channels, and then you have that EQ for all the line as well as all the digital channels as well. So you can see it's an EQ tab right there. And the HDMIs will be stereo channels. And here you have your pan controls for the mic inputs. And all this, of course, is in the on-screen menu as well. So two more automation features I'm going to discuss here as well is auto mixing. So this is an auto mixer. So when you turn it on individually for analog and digital source channels, you then turn on the entire effect here, and it will automate the mix levels. Additionally, there's also audio follows video. And I'll just actually jump back to the menu here. So audio follows videos on page 2 of that setup menu. By default, it's on for the HDMI inputs. What audio follows means is it kind of automates the channel mutes. So when I say that, what I mean is that if these are on, this means that HDMI 1's audio only passes through them into the mix and still follows the fader level, but it's active only when video input 1 is selected. So if you turn this off, HDMI 1's audio will be on all the time, regardless of your input selected. So depending on how you want your audio, you may not want these to have follow on, which is the default setting, or you may just go into page 4 of that level setup menu and mute them because maybe you're not utilizing the audio from them. It is a convenient way to add a microphone because you can just connect it to the camera and it would travel over HDMI. So if you have like a lav mic and the receiver is connected to the camera, it would travel over HDMI. You can even apply EQ. So it is convenient, and you have more flexibility mixing with the RCS software's graphic interface faders. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Is that audio follows is on by default, and you can easily disable it. You can also have mic inputs only be active when a certain video input is selected. So that's kind of the flexibility of audio follows video. Basic idea is that you'd be automating your mutes with it. And then additionally, all the system settings are in this RCS software as well. So you do not need to use the on-screen menu. This can be done with the USB connection. And at the same time, you can also run our video capture for VR. This is free recording software. So, this is an option as well. Or you can use anything that accepts a USB video device for streaming and recording. So just take a moment here to recap these key points on the VR1 HD. So this is an all-in-one hardware solution with video switching, audio mixing, video effects, automation tools, and USB streaming. So it's like one big webcam at the center of your live production. I mean, you saw all these kind of features that we walk through here. This is going to help create engaging live streams by mixing XLR mics with the EQ and compression, adding overlays with picture-in-picture, picture-by-picture, which you saw for conferences or events or podcast interviews. Chroma key effects, I was able to bring in that overlay and just key out the green in the middle and have those two windows side by side. Music and sounds with the audio effects buttons. And then the hands-free switching and mixing. So those automation features, auto mixing, audio follows video, and especially video follows audio. These aid single operator workflows with the powerful automation features. So that concludes this overview of Roland Pro AV's VR1 HD AV streaming mixer. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, just contact us and Roland support, and we'll be happy to help you out. Thank you again, and take care.